So my first question is, I know that you were talking about the panel, how the body types of a lot of the actors determined what style or was used for that particular actor. Are you able to say like what specific like form of martial art like was used for a particular character?
Well, what we would do is in the fight camp is see what the particular actor was good at. So if they're good at grappling, make them do grappling. If they're good at kicks, we make them do kicks. You know, we didn't want to make them do stuff they're bad at, and that's what it's your job as a director when you're directing actors is not try to make them perform something they can't do. Like do work to their strengths, and so we apply that to the action as well. It's like first of all, what is the character, and how does the character operate in this world, right? And then we look at the actor and what they can do, and we try to meld those two things together. So there's a plethora of styles that we dip into from all of that. You know, I would say Babu's character is more Southern Chinese style fighting, where he's like solid, low stances, but really strong arms, you know, and all his poses come from the Southern style of like Hung Gar and Charlie Futt and stuff like that. And so like it varies depending on the actor and depending on the situation. So, and then, you know, then we get someone like Lewis who has a lot of experience, and so he can do a lot of different stuff, and so we bring that in. Or we bring someone or someone likes to do flips, like Aramis loves to be on the wires, right? And he never formally learned that, he's just naturally good at that. So we have him do a lot of wire work, you know, and it really depends on the person and what they like to do, and we just try to cater to them, you know, and that's what makes it work.
Two questions. You made a comment about the...
Take my medicine. Sorry.
No, all right. You made a comment to the news people about, you know, that your stunt coordinators and your you know, fight coordinators, that they should have been nominated for an Emmy, and I think clearly all of us believe that too. And, you know, there's some issues there, and so I don't know, maybe you know, they may want to talk about that. But the other question, more to the style, because I know this is one of the things that Jackie Chan talked to some of the American people who did the fight, you know, fight scenes, not in your case, but in other cases, that the Americans always want to go big and this, and then Jackie Chan always says, no, you got to stay in close, and you know, we do it this way. And I noticed that the fight scene with you and the Pilgrim, it was really close in, then you guys go out, but then you guys come really, really close in again.
Right,
so,
right. For your first question, it needs your help. You guys need to be writing stuff going like, why isn't this show getting nominated for all these things? Like, you guys need to be doing that because there's only so much we can do. I mean, I tried to complain about it on Twitter. I was fucking angry because I looked at some of the show reels that got turned in and got nominated, and just, frankly speaking, shit. Like shit. And like, how are those guys getting nominated and we're not, right? So I'm very passionate about this subject, but it really relies on your guys' help to spread that out there and get people aware. Because really, frankly speaking, the people voting, they're lazy. They don't watch everything, right? So they go, oh, I heard of this show, and they do action, we'll click that, right? They don't actually watch it. But if you get out there and make the noise for us and make them pay attention to it, then I think that will help. And going back to the Jackie Chan action, what was the question again?
It was just...
Oh, yeah. So for that, it was important that we always want it wide because we always want to see the full action. Babu is an incredible mover. I'm pretty good at that stuff too. So we want to see all that stuff, but we also want to see the technique. So there's a grappling technique, there's arm locking and qinna, which is in Chinese is a certain kind of grappling. We wanted to see the technique being clear. So you're telling a story through the fight. And so that determines how we edit it and what we're trying to show there. And we have great guys on set who are stuntmen and actors and filmmakers who are there helping us edit. So once we shoot it, they're putting it together, we look at it and go, okay, that's what we want. Then we send it to the main editors in Toronto and go, this is the completed fight, here's what it is, and they take it from there. And they don't really get involved in creating the fight. We do it all ourselves, so it's a full package. And I think that's the biggest difference in the West. And from my experience of working on Tomb Raider, it's such a disjointed process of making the action. The choreographer does his thing, the cameraman does his thing, the director does his thing, and then the editor is the one who makes the fight in the editing room. And that's bullshit. It shouldn't be done that way.
Yeah, in American films and television, we always say the fight is covered, but it's not actually directed.
Yeah.
And there's not a story. And the first thing which we said in there was, why are we fighting? What's the story of the fight? It's the first thing Dee Dee asks us too. What story are we telling in this fight? And having done 2 movies with Jackie, Shanghai Noon was shot in Canada, and he had just come off Rush Hour and was very unhappy with the action. And frankly, in Shanghai Noon, he was unhappy with a bunch of it. And a lot of times what you're fighting there is the style of U.S. and Canadian stunt people and sort of an ingrained culture that didn't really let Jackie be Jackie. And so when we did Shanghai Nights, we shot it in Prague, and David Dobkin, who directed the first 3 episodes of Into the Badlands, sat with Jackie and said, what weren't you happy with? Jackie explained it, and David worked out a system where Jackie, that was one of the first American movie he was a fight director on. So he was able to do that, and I'll say the fights in Shanghai Nights are definitely a step up from Shanghai Noon because Jackie was, allowed and directly involved. And I think that's the thing is, American studios and stuff, they're like, we love Jackie. They bring Jackie over and then try to put him in a box, and you don't let Jackie be Jackie. So I think it was trying to find that balance, and one of the reasons, we went after David to do this because we knew he was the only American director we knew who had worked with a Hong Kong fight crew successfully. And it was that melding of an American drama with Hong Kong action, and what was that going to look like, and how was that going to work, and how can we seamlessly intertwine the two of them.
Well, yeah, and it was the respect that he gave, because I think the biggest difference is the choreographers from Hong Kong are actually filmmakers, right? And they're making a story through their fight, and they're respected for that. Whereas in the States, it's like, oh, it's a second unit. It's an action guy.
It's covered.
And, it's covered and whatever, but it's not an integrated whole in terms of the filming, the choreography, and then the editing. And so what we do is, on Badlands, and the gift that we've had for so many seasons, was to be able to have that autonomy and be able to create that fight and then just turn in the fight to the editor at the end.
But on the first point, which is the lack of recognition for the fight team, it is a disgrace.
Yeah.
It is a disgrace on the Academy. That whatever you say about the show, the one thing this show does best on television, there's no comparison, is the action. The fact that it was never recognized by the Academy is a disgrace. And I don't know if it's racism or Boy Network, but it's actually a disgrace.
Yeah.
And is the fact that we've never been nominated for the action is it's inexplicable to
Oh,
me.
I mean, it's angry, it's fuming. Like every year that comes around, I just like steam comes out of my head and I go rant.
Just because no other
weeks.
show treats it in the same way. We have had a dedicated fight unit on this show from inception. No, every other show on television has a 3-day, except Game of Thrones, has a 3-day second unit. So the fact that it was never recognized just points to the corruption of that institution. So it is, I don't know if it's racism or what it is, but it needs to be rectified immediately.
Yeah. We still have a chance. This is the last half of the season, so if you guys help us, we got a chance.
Do you have any funny stories regarding the cast?
Oh man. Oh man. So many. Like who and what? Like, oh god, like Nick. I mean, Nick is like a character. He's like, I mean, like I was saying in that panel, I was like, that's one of the most things I'm gonna miss the most, is that personal relationship I had with him and how fucking funny he is as a person. Just like every day, like sometimes we're really stressful, messed up situations, making this show, and he just finds the humor in everything, and that just makes the day go so much easier. Just his running commentary on everything is funny. He's dark like me, like I like that stuff. I don't vocalize my humor as much as he does, but I appreciate it so much that he's there.
Nick talked about the food. The Irish food, not so good.
Yeah, that's probably the worst thing about
Nick had a few comments about the food.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, there's so much funny stuff, like Sherman and how vain he is. He's very vain. And he'll never show up on time. If you go to dinner at 5 or 6 o'clock, he'll be there at 7, that kind of thing. But yeah, we have a great relationship. We built this great family over 3 seasons. And so we just had a blast. We have a blast. Everybody loves each other. There's no beef or anything like that on set. And it's a pleasure. It's such a pleasure to be with all those talented people.
Why has it been so important for you to show women in various power structures in the Badlands?
I think it's a key tenet of martial arts. So like Al was saying, is like martial arts is an equalizer. It doesn't matter who you are, a man or a woman, body size or whatever. If you're good at it, you're good at it. And so that leads to characters that can be powerful,
And for us, it was what's the sort of future you want to see, and we wanted it to be an ethnically diverse future, and a future where women had power and women had agency. And to be honest, because you don't see it so much, you go, that's just an interesting dynamic to write. they were just interesting to write, and it felt fresh. And we got fantastic actors to do it. So I think it's something that, that we really kind of leaned into. And it's funny watching, I hadn't seen that episode in 6 months. And to see it's basically Chow, the widow, and the master are kind of really, and Cressida are, you have 4 incredibly strong female characters going forward in this last 8 episodes.
Yeah, I just, with the show running at 3 seasons and this being its last season, I was just kind of wondering, when it came to approaching the season, how you guys kind of took the approach with it being the last season, and were there any kind of future storylines that you would hope to do that you had to consolidate for this last season?
There was some, we started to get, they never come out and tell you, but Miles and I have been doing this long enough where you can sort of read the signals. So we knew that there were 2 things. One, we knew this 16-episode arc was going to have its own conclusion. Like we knew if the show had gone on that we were going to reboot and then take the show in a different direction. So that was already kind of baked into the storytelling. And we had, divide, even before we knew the air schedule, had said we're going to do this 8-episode arc and then this 8-episode arc. And then once we kind of could see the writing on the wall, there are certain storylines that we definitely went back and, well, not went back, but as we were doing them, we knew we were writing to a conclusion, which can also be very exciting, because you start to bring things to an end. But we left a bunch of doors open too, so it doesn't feel like. But
it is very satisfying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you will watch the complete series and be very satisfied as an experience. That all the major questions are answered. That the arcs are satisfying, where the characters get to in terms of their journeys.
The journey is complete.
Yeah, so I think for us, we feel very satisfied and very proud of the series as a whole.
Yes.
I just had 2 questions. One was, one thing I really enjoyed about the show was that you spoke about this at the panel, was the diversity of it, how, you said this is what our future, looks like. And I was curious, when you were thinking about that, how that worked into sort of the naming convention, like you use like cogs and clippers and things like that. How did those names come to be, and how did that relate back to, creating this beautifully diverse show?
Right.
Well, the names were very important in terms of making it feel like its own thing, that this was not our world or a world you'd seen before in other movies. So the nomenclature of the series and the world was important. And in terms of the diversity and the effort we put into making sure that this world reflected a future that is not our own, that there was, it really presented a lot of challenges in terms of the Irish element, in terms of the UK element, getting the right actors into the roles, but it was something we really fought for and I think achieved in many ways.
Yeah. But that was, and we sort of used sort of a Japanese feudal structure. That's where it had the barons and the regents and the clippers and the cogs and the colts, and so that's sort of where it came. So it was sort of taking that from
it was Kurosawa, really,
yeah.
in terms of those great samurai movies.
Yeah.
Like the Samurai trilogy was a big inspiration for the show, and then using those sort of also Chinese history as well, and the Chinese history of cinema, and Wong Kar-wai is a big influence on the series in terms of the look, the saturation. House of Flying Daggers.
My second question was just for you guys, who your favorite characters were in the show and why?
Sunny. Should be pretty obvious. That's why. No, but I really like the Widow's character. I mean, there's so many characters I like. That's the thing, is like there's so much to cling on to as a fan of the show. There's so many characters that you can like and hate and whatever, and so that's what makes it fun. You're not stuck with one person's storyline. It can get boring if you're not into that person, And so that's what I mean. I love watching Twitter blow up whenever an episode comes out, because you see who people gravitate towards, right? And it's a really kind of fun aspect of the show.
Yeah, and I think it's like when you create the show, it's like you love all your children, and I think
all the children.
No, some are problematic, but I think for us it's we really wanted to land Sonny, and once we had Daniel, we kind of knew where that was going. He's like your oldest child who you focus so much attention on and you go through. And then I think the widow we knew had the potential to be great, and I think that was a very surprising character once we got into it, that how much there was to do with her. And we really loved the relationship with her and Tilda. And Tilda, once we had Allie, we were like, okay, this is a great, we knew this was going to be a great, we had Tilda on paper, but then when Allie came in, it was just like, wow, she's great. And so we knew we had this really wonderful mother-daughter relationship, which is something you don't see on television a lot, and something you certainly don't see in this show.
But also it's deeply messed up.
Yeah, deeply messed. Yeah,
bonkers.
It was bonkers. And then you have, like Lydia, which is you talk about that one because
Lydia is someone who I think you watch the show and you have real expectations. She's the kind of like the bitch, the sort of like the schemer, and over the course of the series, I think hopefully an audience will really begin to empathize with her,
right? And
that she's not who you really see her grow as an adult. That she becomes, after the sort of Quinn's gone, that she becomes her own person. And again, it's sort of empowering someone who's been in the shadow of a man to become powerful themselves. So that's a really interesting journey. So that was something that's very important. But even watching the show today, Nick Frost really changed the show.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he changed the show.
So for us, that was, I think, and the relationship of Sonny and Baji is just transformative. And something that, we went into the show with very kind of serious intentions, but actually we realized that you need comedy to leaven the drama. And that really changed the whole show.
Yeah.
And he's incredible. And just looking at the direction today, he can get a laugh out of any line. I mean, it's amazing. He has such facility, and he's such an amazing dramatic actor, comedic actor, and physical actor. That is the triple threat. So that really, I think, really helped us.
Yeah.
Quinn, I mean, also amazing character. Like, it was that one you love to hate him, right? Like, he was so fucking slimy all the time. But you love watching his performance, right? And it was just amazing to have that kind of, with Sonny and that relationship, that kind of very clear fight between these two characters.
He was so creepy.
He was so creepy. But you needed that. You needed an actor, especially in the first season when you're establishing these barons, because what are barons really but a cult of personality that's built around themselves? So you needed an actor who could bring that and
be a cult leader,
and Martin brought it.
You gotta aim for the head when you're stabbed.
I know. Sonny knows that now.
Yeah.
Sonny knows that now. Chop the heads off and don't stab them in the gut.
You guys are really active on social media, especially in Twitter, and Daniel, you answer us like all the time when we're tweeting to you. Why is it important for you to interact with your fans that way?
Well, it's the first time I've experienced this because, like, I've only done films in the past, right? In films, you do the movie, you go to the premiere, you sit with a bunch of audience members, and then it's done, and everyone watches the movie on their own time. Whereas in TV, I can sit there and do the live tweeting, and people's reactions are happening right there. I've never experienced that before, and I thought it was really cool and fresh. And to have this direct connection through social media with the fans was amazing, especially since we weren't growing in the mass market like I wanted the show to, and to have those fans and that direct connection was like a really special relationship that I'd never seen in my 20 years of acting, And so I really love that, I wanted to just foster that.
And it's really, I think, with any show, what's great about television versus film is that it becomes a conversation with your fans, and now with Twitter, it can literally become a conversation with your fans. I mean, we had, there were fan sites for Smallville, but we never had social media the way it is now. And I'll be honest with you, Twitter is usually a bastion of hate. But when we went there for Into the Badlands, I was like, wow, you want to feel good about yourself? Like, go look at the feed, because I mean, the fans are fantastic. People were really responding to the show.
Yeah, from day one.
From day one. I mean, that was
the fans. If you like the show, you really like the show.
The show, yeah.
It's not like often like on other shows. It's like you get the hate, and it's just like
man, like that kind of thing. But it was very clearly what was happening. Like, people were really falling in love with the show, and it was cool to see that kind of blossom right in front of you on social media.
And I think because it wasn't based on something else, it wasn't based on a book series or Superman or something, I think fans could come to it fresh and just have that experience of something new that they didn't have anything else to reference or judge it against either.
For all the action sequences that happened from season 1 to season 3, which was the hardest to prepare for?
Gosh, I don't know. I think the rain fight in season 1 made me go, oh shit, we're in this deep. Like, it was hard to make that scene. It was 6 days in there, and it was like in the studio, or 8 days? Yeah, it was 8 days.
Yeah.
And like fully wet the whole time. And also because the lights were so hot above, they had to turn this air conditioner on. So it was freezing in there. It was freaking cold in there. And then, but it was like 110 degrees outside.
Yeah.
So it was so difficult to make that scene. But it was like, it kind of put a taste in our mouth. Okay, this is what we're going to deal with for the rest of this show, because we're raising the bar here. It was one of the first major fights in the first episode. We set the bar at that level. We're like, okay, we can't go back from this. So this is like, it's like, oh shit, we just went off the cliff. We're going, right? And so, and that, I think that was difficult, but it set the tone, and it set everything for everything else. And so, I mean, other fights were definitely difficult as well, but that was the kind of like surprising moment for all of us, like everyone involved, like Alan Miles as showrunners, Steven as the director, Master Didi as the choreographer. We're like, okay, this is what we're dealing with now. This is where we got to push ourselves, you know.
It's, looking at the series as a whole and talking about fights, you said that they tell a story. What have been your favorite fights to tell?
Wow.
So many.
And for different, I mean, I love that rain fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think that's one of my favorite fights.
It was a nice bag of tricks in that one. We
Yes.
used so many like cool tricks in that. But it wasn't maybe a plot. It was a plot.
No, it
fight.
was a plot.
But it wasn't two characters fighting. You
Right.
know? So it was just Sunny beating a bunch of people
Yeah.
down, right? And we did a lot of that for a season. But then I think one was really important to me was the Moon fight with Moon that first time.
Yeah.
That episode. And in fact, that whole episode, because it was about these two warriors and them facing off. It was like very Akira Kurosawa.
Yes.
But then it was also very clear where Sunny's state of mind is like, I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to do this. And this guy's like, no, I'm calling you out. You gotta do it. You're gonna be my 1,000th kill, or you're gonna kill me, right? It's like Sunny doesn't want to do it, and you really understood Sunny's mentality from that point onwards. He's not the guy that you saw from season 1 anymore, you know.
Right.
And so that one was really, really important to me. And then we met Sherman for the first time.
Yeah.
Worked with him for the first time. It was great, and we knew like after that episode, like we got to bring that guy back.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Originally, it was written just as an individual episode that Sunny was going through, but it was like so compelling.
I'll say to
that we
Miles'
came back.
credit when we were in the writer's room, because at the end of it, I think Sherman did, like that character was supposed to die.
Yeah.
And Miles goes, or we could cut his hand off, and if he's good, we can bring him back. And we were like, yeah, that's probably the good, because the last thing you wanted is like, God, this guy's great, and we killed him. So, you know, yeah, so that was, you know.
Which we've done.
We've made that mistake
Yeah.
before, where you're just like, oh, why did we kill
There was a
the
character called Castor.
Castor Dean
Yeah,
Chapman
Dean
played
Chapman.
in the first.
I mean, it's a great scene when Pilgrim kills him, but it's like, oh, the kid was actually amazing.
Yeah.
He was such
Great
a good
actor.
mover, great actor,
Yeah.
great kid to work with. Like,
Yeah.
we were sad to see him go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I actually called you guys. I was like, do we have to get rid of
I
him?
know. I know. We're like, oh.
What has been some of the easiest makeup for you to deal with when you had all the tattoos or all the boob makeup?
I think the easiest was like when Sunny's clean. 'Cause he's fucking dirty like a lot of the time, right? I did not like the Chow outfit because I hate white. Like I hate all white. It's like I
You
can't-
look really good in it, though.
I know. A lot of people say that, but it was very tight around the groin area. You could see if Sunny was excited or not. But it was very hard to move in that outfit because it was very stiff. The leather was up here. It was like giving me wear marks on my neck. A lot of costumes like did some damage to us physically moving around in them. Yeah, that one I didn't like. What was the question again? Sorry.
What's some of the easiest makeup you've had to deal
The
with?
easiest makeup, yeah. So yeah, clean Sunny is the easiest. Like, you know, because I'm constantly getting marks put on me,
Yeah.
scars, blood, this,
Yeah.
like I get bloody.
Well, how long was the
this-
tattoos in the end?
Oh, the tattoo, yeah, whenever we shot the back tattoos,
How was it?
3-4 hours.
Wow.
Even when we like got it
Right.
good, it's still 3-4 hours. That means I have to come in at 4 in the morning to start doing makeup, you know. And so I'm glad that we used costume to cover it most of the time, and that wasn't shown most of the time because that would have been hell. Thank you guys for saving me that.
Any scenes you wish that did made the cut on the show?
Oh.
They did make the cut, or didn't?
Yeah. Anyway, any scenes you wish that did make the cut on the show that was cut from the show?
No. I mean, I think we're. No.
No.
I think we're pretty. Sort of-
We're pretty ruthless in the
Yeah.
editing room.
I mean, I think one thing of the show is that it moves. There's no like no fat on the bone. It's just it moves, and that's so we never regret cutting a scene.
Yeah.
We're very happy to cut scenes.
Okay, we have time for 2 more questions.
You mentioned Sunny being one of your favorite characters, and all the little arcs he went on throughout the series. Is there one that you enjoyed portraying the most?
I think because I'm a father, the Sonny as a father trying to take care of Henry, like, I really like that first fight scene in the trailer of season 3, of the first episode, because that also like put you very clearly what his mentality was. Don't fuck with my kid. I'll kill you, right? Like, that's how I am personally. Like, my daughter, I'm fiercely protective of her. So I really related to that story arc of Sonny, like, right away. It was not anything I didn't get or understand or I had to even ask them about. You know, it was like, I totally get what his mentality is. The baby's sick. He's got to find a way to cure him, and he'll do whatever he can to do that. And he makes a huge mistake doing that, you know? But what would you do in that situation? You know, it's like if your child's life is on the line versus protecting all of humanity, that's a hard decision to make, you know. And I really related to that character as being a father, and really I felt like that was the moment that I really like understood Sonny. You know, I really got him. You know. But I'd also love the arc of him trying to get back to Vale. That was romantic.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's this really violent guy, but he's just trying to be a romantic, and like I like that too.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much to like. And then even this last half, where he's trying to save the world now. It's like a bigger scale problem. You know, there's everything else that he was dealing with is personal, getting away from Quinn, getting back to his love, saving his kid. Now this one is like save the world, so be a hero. You know, and that's a whole different thing.
We can actually do these two more.
Okay. Season 1, you know, introduced us into the world of the Badlands, and season 2 really expanded on it in like a way even when I was watching it I wasn't expecting. But what was it like expanding it even more for season 3, and what was kind of like the most fun parts of creating the world?
Well, season 1, as Al calls it, is world glimpsing, because we shot in New Orleans, and we quickly realized that you can't shoot a show like this in America because you need money. So the move to Ireland really changed the whole show, because we had the tax credit allowed us to really expand the world. It also had our location just outside Dublin. We could access to forests, to waterfalls, to the ocean, to and these incredible castles and country houses in Ireland.
Amazing country to shoot in.
So we had an incredible crew as well, they were just coming off Penny Dreadful, so they had an incredible production designer and craftsman and the prosthetic team who could make, you know, like Baby Henry, you know, is like this incredible doll. And we have so many dead bodies we have, and they could just craft anything. So there was that element and incredible practical effects. So it really allowed us to have a much bigger palette, and we exploited it to the max.
Yeah, we had the best of what Ireland had to offer, all working on the show. From everywhere from the prop making, the weapon making, to making silicone Baby Henry. You know, like all that stuff was top level, and they were so passionate about it.
Yeah.
So it was great.
And even this season, you'll see in the episodes to come, we shoot in places that nobody had shot in before too. You know, places that had been off limits, and then, you know, we were able to. Our great producer over there was able to get these places. So, yeah, Ireland was a fantastic place to shoot.
Yeah, I really felt it's like a whole new level.
Yeah,
right, yeah, absolutely.
So did we.
Last question, and then we'll do a quick photo op right after.
Yeah, so final question. With this being the finale, what is the lasting impression you wish the show to leave?
Well, I hope it's a show that has been unlike a show that anybody's ever seen before. So something in a world of 1,000 shows that feels unique, you know, that really, you know, showcases the best of, you know, what an action adventure show can be. And they're characters that people will, you know, love and hopefully keep revisiting on Netflix.
Yeah, I think, you know, we didn't get the mainstream love that we were hoping for, but I think with the streaming services and it being online, people will slowly start to discover it. And that's my hope. Yeah. And that really the important thing was that we left a mark. We left a real big mark in terms of like raising the bar for this kind of action, creating this crazy world. I mean, if you look at it on paper, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. You're like, how are we going to pull this shit off? But we did it, you know, and we did it really well. And so I think slowly over time, people are going to recognize that. Hopefully, I'm hoping that, and we'll get that credit, you know. And you're seeing it now. You're seeing Wu Assassins coming out. You see Warrior coming out. Like it's all. I can't say that it's not influenced by us.
Right.
Like I think we definitely influence those shows, and all the best to them, because we want to see more of that on television. We started that spark, and I'm proud to be a part of that.
I think that's absolutely true. I think hopefully we're ahead of our time.
Yeah.
in that way, and that
Yeah.
we can be discovered
Yeah.
forever on Netflix or whatever it is. But we set out to do something that hadn't been done before, is incredibly unique, and we're really proud of the show.
Yeah. And we're very grateful to AMC. I mean, it's a crazy show. It was not based on anything, and they took the gamble and they went with it, even when they frankly didn't understand it in season 1. But they
I'm pretty sure they didn't understand.
No, I think they, we tell the story. It was like you see all of these dailies, and you've got like a Hong Kong fight unit and like guys in crazy costumes, and like it was
blood
crazy.
everywhere.
Blood
And
everywhere.
I also will say that our ratings actually was still very, very solid.
Yeah.
It's really about the economics of cable business rather than anything else, and that we're a very expensive show. Yeah. So it wasn't that we were like a bomb, or it was we actually were a top 5 show on the AMC. So it's really a testament to them that they stuck with us as long as they did, because that whole cable business is challenged.
I was grateful that they had the patience to let us run 3 seasons, and really fall into stride and figure out what the show was, and we did that, I think.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
All right, great. We'll set up